I am terrified of the Raiders ruining Fernando Mendoza.
Look, that's all fair. That is all fair. But you see the graphic there. And here's the thing. As we sit here right now on Friday, January 23rd, I am ready to quite simply say Fernando Mendoza is the savior that my beloved Raiders need. Now, look, at the end of the day, everybody has opinions on quarterbacks. And I want to stress this. Right now, Raiders fans everywhere are reading everything they can. And there's plenty of people that doubt Fernando Mendoza's abilities. Number one, I would say to you, who cares? Realistically, none of us are going to know for at least a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, if we even have the guy. So whatever anybody says right now, if you're a Raiders fan and you're reading a bunch of negative about Fernando, or people say, don't take him, or he's not a franchise guy, who cares? None of us are going to know for years. So calm down, relax, and enjoy this moment of hope, because I have hope. I have hope all the way up to my eyeballs for what I've seen. And that hope is real, and it started at the Big Ten championship game. That is the day that I sat on the couch with the dogs, and I literally said out loud, show me what you got, Fernando. And on the first play, he got knocked, out, right? Just laid out to the ground, and then he got right back up. And just when everybody thought, oh, my God, Indiana might not have Mendoza for the Big Ten championship game, no, he came right back out and had a great game. He made throw after throw after throw with pinpoint accuracy, which, by the way, turned out to be who he was for the duration of the playoffs. Look at the playoff games he had. He went into the national championship game with more touchdowns than incompletions. He showed you incredible accuracy where only his guy could get it. He showed you sideline throws where only his guy could get it. He showed you a willingness to run when he needed to all the way up to the national championship. And he showed you perfection with back shoulder throws, which we learned through the process was something he committed to getting great at this summer. Guess what? It worked, because all he does is live, eat, breathe, sleep, and absorb football. That's what you want from a quarterback that is going into a tough situation. And then he took on Miami. And I walked into that game, Caroline, saying, well, you know what I don't want to see? I don't want to see him just fall apart, because it's going to raise questions. Instead, he took on an incredibly tough defense, and they hit him over and over and over again. They split his lip open in the beginning of the game. Didn't matter. He kept getting up. He showed the other thing that we hadn't talked enough about in that game: toughness. He showed a willingness to put his body on the line over and over again. And just when everybody tells me he's not athletic enough, on 4th and 5, he has the called run. He's going to the wrong spot. Whoop! He makes somebody miss. He spins around and he dives, flying Fernando into the end zone for a touchdown that his team needed. And Miami answered that with another touchdown. What happened? Fernando never got too worried about it. He never got rattled. Every time he needed a response, every time he had to be great at the quarterback position throughout the course of this entire run against great defenses, he did it. And every time he got hit, he got up and said, hit me again. We never saw happy feet. We didn't see him dancing in the pocket. We didn't see him shying away from contact. We didn't see him lose his fundamentals. We didn't see him drop his eyes. We didn't see him sit there and collapse under NFL-level pass rushers. No, we saw him rise up. To me, no matter where we sit, and 6 weeks ago, I was asked specifically on an interview, what quarterback do I want? And I said 6 weeks ago, I don't know. I can't really tell you right now. There's so many unknowns about this position. Who knows if you got the right guy? But here's the thing that changed. Everything we saw over the course of the last month of the college football playoff showed us best v best. And guess what? Best v best, Fernando won over and over and over again. Even when the play wasn't right, even when the situation wasn't right, even when the game wasn't right, he rose up. That's the sort of leader you need in a city like Vegas. That's the sort of savior you need when your franchise is as bad as the Raiders. So you know what? Maybe I'll be wrong. And if I'm wrong, the internet will kill me for years for this. But I don't care. Because as we sit today, months before the NFL draft, I'm telling you right now, if you can't believe now, then what the hell's the point? If you can't believe that this kid can save your team, then what are you watching for? And for every single person that tells me don't let your team draft this quarterback, build the team around him, I say no. I don't know when you're going to be in the situation again to draft a franchise quarterback with the first overall pick where you're not compromising, you're picking. This, to me, is an ultimate opportunity for the Raiders to change their fortune for the next decade. It's the most important moment they'll have, and I'm in for every second of it because I believe, Caroline Fenton, Fernando Mendoza is the savior the Raiders need.
And that's how you should feel. One, because, if we didn't have sports, there would be no next year. What's the point of being terrible enough to get the number 1 overall pick if you're not going to at least be hopeful or optimistic of what that number 1 overall pick can bring you? Because to your point, I just got done calling him the cutie patootie of the year because I believe it, because he is the sweetest, precious, most angelous little baby. But what we saw in the national championship game was when he puts those pads on, he is a certified dog. DAWG. His lip was banged up. His chin strap was pooled with blood like 7 minutes into the first quarter. Fernando Mendoza showed, I believe it was Holly Rowe at the end of the game, his arm. It was black and blue. His throwing arm was black and blue and bruised and battered. But that didn't stop him from reaching his arms out and putting his body in the most vulnerable position against one of the, if not the toughest defensive front in all of college football in order to will his team to victory. It was 4th and 5 from the 12, right there in that moment. And Fernando Mendoza talked post game about how that was actually an RPO call. That was not a designed run, that was an RPO. Can you imagine the stones that it takes from Curt Cignetti and the trust that he has to have in his quarterback when Indiana was up? They were up 3 in that moment. They could have just kicked it. Again, 4th and 5 from the 12 in the fourth quarter. Indiana could have just kicked it. But no, in that moment, Curt Cignetti said, I trust my quarterback. I will put the ball in his hands and I trust him to make the right decision in the most critical moment in the game. And that decision from Curt Cignetti and that play from Fernando Mendoza when he's getting ping-ponged and reaches out for the end zone was the difference between not being national champions and being remembered and revered forever for the rest of their lives and will be forever etched in the history of college football lore. So to your point, I understand there are some pessimistic Raiders fans out there. And if you're a pessimistic Raiders fan, I do not blame you. You haven't had a whole lot of hope to clutch on to in recent years. But Fernando Mendoza does feel like the kind of hope. But I still go back to organizations fail young quarterbacks far more than young quarterbacks fail organizations. The Raiders cannot fail Fernando Mendoza.
And that is why I think this becomes a transcendent moment for Tom Brady. Because Tom Brady is only a minority owner and he's a broadcaster. I get it. Tom Brady is not a GM. He's not a team president. He shouldn't have a role every day in the office. I understand it. Nothing changes the fact that in the minds of everybody, in the court of public opinion, Tom Brady is the one that's behind this pick, right? So whatever happens now, Tom Brady needs to be part of. And whatever happens moving forward, Tom Brady needs to be somebody that is making sure, and I've said this often, when you draft a quarterback first overall, not just now, but I'd say the same thing to the Titans last year, the Bears the year before. When you draft a quarterback first overall, every single person in your building, all the way down to the janitor, needs to speak the language of that quarterback. So if Fernando Mendoza has a certain way he likes things, great. Whatever you need to make sure that you are insulating him and communicating to him in the best language that gets the best out of him, all the way down to the cafeteria people. I need everybody in that room to have one goal, only one goal. It's not winning games. I don't give a damn about winning games. History will show you that first overall picks rarely win games their first year. In fact, only one first overall pick at the quarterback position has had a winning record as a starter in his rookie year. Only one. That was Andrew Luck since 2000. Every other one is at a losing record. The Raiders are going to lose games. That's what happens when you pick first overall. I don't care. What I care about is everybody in the building focused on development of Fernando Mendoza, because now that's more important than when you win. Tom Brady himself needs to make sure that the infrastructure is taking care of his quarterback. Tom Brady needs to make sure the person that knows what it takes for a quarterback to be surrounded with the right things needs to damn well make sure that the team he calls himself an owner of has that very infrastructure. If the Raiders don't get it right with Fernando Mendoza, if they ruin Fernando Mendoza, not the other way around, if the Raiders, to your point, ruin Fernando Mendoza, I'm looking squarely at you, Tom Brady, and I'm saying you should have seen it coming. You should have known what to do differently. You should have been the ear that everybody needed. You should have been the voice that everybody needed in their ear to make sure this didn't happen. If it doesn't, if Fernando Mendoza is ruined by the Raiders, shame on Tom Brady.
That is on Tom Brady. I mean, if you say Tom Brady has the opportunity to be transcendent, I mean, yeah, Tom Brady needs to add just a little bit more to his resume because I'm not totally convinced. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, that's
Michael
why
Jordan
you
sucked as
have
an owner.
someone.
Michael Jordan sucked as an owner. That's always my clapback, you know?
And I think that's fair. I mean, just because you are an elite quarterback, greatest quarterback who's ever played the game, doesn't mean that you're going to be great at every single thing that you do. I don't think Tom Brady necessarily knocked anyone's socks off in his first year as a broadcaster, nor should we have expected that. But that's maybe the level of expectation and the standard that Tom Brady has set for himself. Whenever Tom Brady becomes part of an organization, it is widely reported that Tom Brady's share of his ownership was wildly discounted. I think it's because the Raiders said, hey, we just want him in the building. We just want him part of the organization. And in Tom Brady's very short tenure as partial owner, what he's done is said, nah, I don't want Sam Darnold. I want Geno Smith. How's that working out for you, Tom? Because Geno Smith's in Cancun and Sam Darnold is preparing for an NFC championship game. Again, just because you're the greatest player to ever play the position does not mean that you are a master evaluator, does not mean that you're going to be a master GMer, does not mean that you're going to be, an incredibly successful owner. But what I think Tom Brady can do is identify dysfunction within an organization, because he was a massive reason why the Patriots weren't just as functional as they are, but the Patriots were as well-oiled of a machine as they are. So I do, even if Tom Brady isn't the most perfect evaluator of talent that we've ever had in the history of the game of football, what I do think is Tom Brady's job is just make the Raiders a functional organization, give Fernando Mendoza a coach that's going to be able to help him develop, that's going to be able to identify the pieces that Fernando Mendoza needs around him. That is kind of where Tom Brady starts his new venture of being an owner, and it starts with Fernando Mendoza. But Fitz, and we're talking about.
Let me say
Yeah,
one
yeah, go
other
ahead.
thing on that too. Tom Brady has the opportunity to be Alex Smith, and this sounds weird when I say that. Nobody knows what I'm referencing, but let me clarify. Patrick Mahomes has said many times in interviews that he credits the fact that he got to back up Alex Smith for a year, and Alex Smith told him how to be a pro, how to eat, what to do, who to hire to be
Mm-hmm.
around him, how to break down film, how to make his schedule. He is credited so many times in interviews that Alex Smith was a big part of teaching him how to be an NFL quarterback. The Raiders may not have an Alex Smith that can teach that. They got a Tom Brady. So even if Tom
Yeah.
Brady's only work here is being in Fernando Mendoza's ear from day one about here's how you avoid distractions, here's what you need to do, here's what your Monday looks like, here's the best way to make Tuesday the most effective for you, here's how meetings can run better. There is so much knowledge to be shared from Tom Brady to Fernando Mendoza. I agree with you that, even if we're going to look at this and say Tom Brady's just an owner, right now he needs to also be a quarterback mentor for the team that he is a part owner for.